Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Tyler Jackson, your host once again for the second edition of the Sports Corner podcast. Now, I'm doing a little bit late on this video, but nonetheless, gonna get this going. Hopefully, get this uploaded by it's 11:43 right now, so by midnight tonight. Oh, we'll see how it goes. But today we are going to talk about one of the greatest defenses of all time, and also one of the greatest defenses to never be talked about. A lot of people talk about the 1985 Bears, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, the 02 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2007 New England Patriots. But the one team that people seem to forget is the 1977 Atlanta Falcons. Now, I don't know how to add highlights to the video yet, so unfortunately, I ain't got no highlights available, but I'll just talk about it and talk about some interesting facts about it as well. Also, going to be talking about a rookie debut that not a lot of people are talking about today, which is DeShone Kizer's debut. It's Cleveland. Everybody else outside of Cleveland likes to play Cleveland, but also talk about how he performed, how I thought he performed, with me being a Cleveland native and me be able to watch the game and get it from an inside perspective as far as how Browns fans saw the game for, basically. So let's just get it started with first the greatest defense to ever play in a single season, and one of the greatest defenses to never be talked about, and that's the 1977 Atlanta Falcons, aka the Grit Splits. Now, the Grit Splits was a team where the year before they weren't that good, and they also, they also allowed 20.2 points per game in the previous year, and the year after that they allowed 18.1 points per game. But this year particularly, although it was a 14 season game, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the last year or one of the last few years that the NFL was in a 14 game format before extending it to what we now are used to in a 16 game regular season. So the Atlanta Falcons allowed the second fewest total yards with 3,242. The number one team that year was the Dallas Cowboys with 3,213. So there's not really that big of a gap. It's usually about right there. So it was pretty amazing. Also, they allowed the fewest points per game in NFL history to this day. Now, you can sit back and say, well, it's only a 14 game season or whatever it may be, but actually it's still impressive to only allow 9.2 points per game in a single season. That is impressive. To put that in better perspective, the 1985 Chicago Bears allowed 12.4 points per game and allowed 4,132 yards. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens is the closest team in NFL history with 10.4 points per game and allowed 3,967 yards. The 02 Buccaneers allowed 12.2 points per game and allowed 4,044 total yards. So why is this team not talked about? Why is this team underrated? Why don't anybody remember? Why does the national media not mention this team? Well, for starters, their offense was absolutely atrocious. Their offense was one of the worst teams in the league. They were so bad that the defense couldn't basically make up for how bad the offense was. And how bad the offense was, that defense was on the field a lot. So it makes it that much more impressive that this team only allowed 9.2 points per game, and they only allowed the second fewest that year and one of the lowest in NFL history. So the team broke even at 7-7 and missed the playoffs. So that's one reason why this team has forgotten. If you look at the other three teams that I listed on this video as a comparison, the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, and the 2002 Buccaneers. All three teams won a Super Bowl. They went to the playoffs. They dominated in the playoffs, and they won the Super Bowl in that year. Matter of fact, the Chicago Bears didn't allow a single point in the playoffs into the Super Bowl when they only allowed 10 points to the New England Patriots. Also, they only had two Pro Bowlers come out of that team with Roland Lawrence and defensive end Claude Humphrey. They don't have sack numbers because at the time sacks was not an official statistic to 1982, so I was not able to pull up those sack numbers for the Grizz Blitz. But and to put in perspective, from what I've done research on and the stories about this team, is that they would send 8 to 9 guys all at the quarterback and would sack him down instantly, and that's why it was so successful, because teams could not figure out how they could stop this, nor did they have too many good players or men to stop this. Usually you got your 5 offense of linemen, then turn around, and if you do use a 2 tight end set, that's 7 blockers. You still got to account for 2 more people, and some guys are just so good that where you're going to have to double team them. So that's why this team allowed 9.2 points per game, because they just got to the quarterback. But those sacks necessarily does not count because it wasn't an official stat. It was about 5 years removed, 5 years before being an official stat. Also, another thing is because they had 2 Pro Bowlers. The Chicago Bears had 8 Pro Bowlers. The 85 Chicago Bears had 8 Pro Bowlers. And if my memory serves me correct, 5 or 6 of them were defensive players. The 02 Buccaneers had 5 defensive players. The Ravens also had 2. But a lot of people remember them because it's more recent. It happened within 17 years ago, so it's more recent. So this is one of the greatest defenses of all time, not talked about because their offense was so bad, because their offense couldn't produce points. To put in perspective how bad their offense was, the 2016 Browns is a great comparison to how bad this offense was, where they couldn't move the ball down the field. They had troubles of running the ball, passing the ball, even just scoring a field goal. That's the best comparison I can give to you guys. It's just that alone. So, it's crazy, but it's true. They've allowed the fewest points per game in NFL history. They've allowed, which means they allowed the fewest points in NFL history. With albeit being 14 games, that's still impressive. They have done something that the Bears couldn't do. The 02 Buccaneers, the 2000 Ravens couldn't do. The 07 Patriots, just to name a few other great defenses that have come and gone in the past, to compare to how good this team was. They were considered the stingiest defense. Like I said, they're considered the stingiest defense in the Super Bowl era, and it is the stingiest defense since World War II. Which means that's when the NFL really got kickstarted after World War II, because those players came back from the war, keep playing football and everything like that. So, just a little interesting thing, if you guys do not know about the 1977 Falcons, aka the Grizz Blitz, do more research on it if you want to. The highlights are on YouTube of how good this defense was and how aggressive this defense was, and it's a shame that they're not talked about because of how bad their offense is and the fact that they didn't even make the playoffs. So now going on to the other topic is the Cleveland Browns and DeShone Kizer's debut. DeShone Kizer did good. Wasn't great. Wasn't bad. It was good. For a rookie quarterback, I want to see him make the bad throws, the deep balls, missing them. I want to see him make those throws. Not saying that I don't want to necessarily see him consistently do it or don't want to see him make those throws. It's just that I need to see him miss those throws because they can work on it and then he gets better so he can come out against Baltimore and go ahead and make those deep ball throws. Also, the interception that he did have, watching the game, I was like, what was that? Like, what were you trying to do? But it's a rookie mistake, and I really wasn't that mad about it. Being a Browns fan, having 27 different quarterbacks, and remembering at least 20 of them. Been watching them since I was 3, but I really started remembering round 5 or 6, watching at least 20 of them. For one of the first few times, I can sit back and say every time he dropped back and threw the ball, I didn't have that cringe moment of, oh God, it's going to be an interception. I've had that with every single quarterback, and he was one of the first ones that I was like, oh my goodness, it's not going to get intercepted. I wasn't afraid that it was going to get intercepted. Even the throw that he threw to TJ Watt, I mean, you might as well say he threw it to TJ Watt. Even then, I was like, maybe, but maybe it'll sell out of bounds. For a guy who's going against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense who blitz him, aggressive. They're always aggressive against young quarterbacks. I was really impressed at how poised he was, how calm he was, how he ran the offense in those hurry up, no huddle situations, making audibles, making hot route adjustments at the line of scrimmage, making the protection, slide protections, whether it's max protection or whatever it may be, making those calls on in the game and just poise. That's the one thing that a lot of people forget, that how poised is about a quarterback is how poised that quarterback is. How is the quarterback going to bounce back from adversity? And it was a prime example because you sit back and you get a 2-yard gain here, then you get -5, and then you get a penalty here, and then next thing you know, it's 4th down, and then you get a block punt, and he just comes out there and is like, okay, guys, let's just do it, let's go. And he looked really, I'm not saying really good, but he looked good. And he looked better than most Browns quarterbacks to be in that backfield under center. So I was really, really impressed with how poised he was. Now, obviously, getting sacked 7 times is not good, and you can't blame that on the offensive line. A lot of them, at least, if he gets that ball out quicker or throws that ball away, maybe the Steelers come out with 3 at the most. But holding on to that ball too long, that's more of a college thing because they're not as fast in college, which is understandable. But I think that Hugh Jackson and the coaching staff will definitely make sure that he will get that ball released quicker against the Baltimore Ravens, which you got to face Terrell Suggs, and that's one of the best. And one of those pass rushers that not a lot of people talk about, but one of the best pass rushers of all time, especially at that outside linebacker position. So hopefully he gets that, gets the ball out quicker. And another thing about him is that he needs a slide. Wasn't happy with him diving head first, or for that matter, the way he slided was weird. And I believe it was Ryan Shazier that got that unnecessary roughness call where he hit him in his chest with his head. Being a Browns fan, I even looked at that play. I was like, yeah, you should have never called that. So with that being said, he played a good game. Now, a few things was different with the Browns. One, if that block punt doesn't happen, it's a totally different game. Because most teams, I believe is 95% of teams that get a block punt and or a field goal in a game are most likely to win the game anyway. So this definitely was a game changer. And another thing, if Kenny Bricks, Britt actually catches that ball on I believe that was a 3rd down play. No, it was a 2nd down play. And he was wide open in the middle of the field, catches it, gets easily at least 5 yards after the catch. He catches that ball. That keeps the momentum going. That keeps the team going. That keeps the spirits going. And I just think those were the 2 biggest plays that actually hurt this team. The Browns were very, very, very competitive throughout the whole game, and that block punt could have just easily took them out. That block punt would have took out most Browns teams, but I saw something different. They fought, and they didn't win. But that's okay. This is a young team. This team is at average is under 25 years old. I think it's like 24 and a half years old, along those lines. So they're the youngest team in the NFL, which means that they're getting experience, but at the same time, they just don't know how to win and close out those games, which I think they'll learn. This is not going to be a bad season. This is not going to be last year where you just want to turn the TV off. I think this year is going to be a better year. To be honest, as a Browns fan, I'm feeling optimistic. I want to say 9-7, want to say 8-8, but realistically 6-10. But if DeShone Kizer stays healthy, he slides, because if he doesn't, it's just going to remind me of how RG3 was when he had his rookie year, won Rookie of the Year, had a great Rookie of the Year campaign, and then because he didn't know how to slide, got hit, or slated weirdly, where he partially tore his ACL. You saw the decline in his career and the no confidence that he had because of the injuries that he had, and I don't want that to happen to DeShone Kizer. So I'm hoping that he will learn how to slide. I think they need to bring in a baseball guy to teach him how to slide, because if they don't, he's going to get hurt, and there are going to be bigger hits on him than what Shazier or what all those other Steeler players did. So besides that, good game by DeShone Kizer. Just needs to keep improving and needs to keep it going. And one more thing I want to talk about real quick, and that was the what was considered the game of the week, which was Seattle versus the Packers. And there's really one play that I want to talk about. It's when Seattle gets the interception and they return it back for a pick six, and they hit. I can't remember who they. I think, who did they get with that blocking in the back call? I cannot remember, but they basically hit Seattle with a blocking in the back call because the players slightly nudged Aaron Rodgers, kind of like to the side / back. It was like at a weird angle. That play should never have been called, and that play ultimately changed the game because Seattle easily goes up by 7, kills Lambeau Field crowd easily, and it just completely changes the momentum. Instead, it was a 0-0 tie all the way into the last second of the first half, and Seattle never really bounced back because once the Packers hit the groove, and they hurt them, and it would have been a different game. And it showed because they only lost by 8 points. Now you can sit back and say, well, they would have scored 7, but still, it's a different feel when you got that ball and you're only down by 1 point. And if you're only down by 1 point, you got a better chance of winning. You can just go ahead, hit a field goal, ball game over. But it definitely changed the game. There's a lot of calls in that game that was bad, but overall that was a decent game. Very good defensive game. I love defensive games. I'm one of those old school guys that like defensive games and don't like to see. I'm not saying I don't have any problems with offenses showing or quarterback shootouts or whatever it may be, but it's something about a good, hard-hitting defensive game that gets me really excited, and that was one of those games where. So, week 1 is almost in the books as I'm recording right now. The Broncos and Chargers are playing in the second Monday night game, and that game should be wrapping up. I think believing they're in the third quarter. That game should be wrapping up soon. And this video is wrapping up soon. So thank you guys for listening, for watching, and I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button somewhere, wherever it would be. Hit subscribe, and also hit follow on the Twitter page. Twitter page is in the channel link. I will also put a link in the description down below. Follow us on Twitter if you want a great way to interact with me. We're gonna do daily polls, updates about news and everything like that. So it's a great way to interact with me. Great way I can interact with you, the fans, the little fans that I have. But nonetheless, it's a great way to interact with you guys, the fans, and to get your perspective on different things. And also, you can just throw me topics in the comment sections or even on my Twitter page, whether it's on the page or a direct message, to throw in topics that you guys want to see me do. So this is Tyrell Jackson of the Sports Corner Podcast 1. Thank you all and have a great night. Oh, one more thing. No, it's 12:04 as I'm recording this right now. Hearts do go out, and always remember the victims and the family members of those victims of 9/11. It's not easy, hasn't been easy, and just prayers go up to them. And it is around this time every year. It's always tough for every single American here. Just a quick story of where I was. With me being 21 years old, I actually do remember 9/11 is one of my first few memories that I remember. I was in kindergarten. Excuse me. I had started school late, and it was like around 8:45. And what they used to do, they used to have the TVs that you wheel into the classroom. It was in my school only had like two of them. They had one upstairs and one downstairs. So I was in the second floor because they only had two floors. So I was in the second floor. They wheeled the TV in, and we're watching TV. We're watching the news. Now they put on the news for some reason in my class. It was like once a week, but it just so happened that Tuesday was the day that they put on the news. So I remember sitting there watching it, and next thing you know, you just see that plane hit the towers, and it was scary, very scary. I didn't know what was going on, how to register it. To be honest, with me being so young, I thought it was like a movie or something, and didn't understand what was going on. So next thing you know, I get a call to come. Me and my brother get a call stating that that we need to leave. My mom got off work, came and got us from school. They actually, matter of fact, if my memory serves me correctly, they basically canceled school for the day. They got everybody out there, and we went home. Wasn't allowed to go outside. I didn't like it at the time. I was 5 years old. I didn't know what was going on. And my mom said, "Hey, stay inside, stay by me." We stayed inside, and we was in the living room just watching. Remember watching what was going on, and I just remember people, watching the buildings burning and stuff, and people jumping out. Once the people started jumping out, my mom turned off the TV, and that's all I remember that day. So I know my story is not that touching as everybody else's, or for that matter, a lot of people experience a lot of different things, and a lot of people experience way worse things on that day. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We are all just feeling for the families and victims, and just always know that you have a strong group of people that is here for you to comfort you, and to make sure that we protect you as well. And yeah, so that's the end of the video. Like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and follow me on Twitter. Facebook page coming up soon, so we're also going to do that as well. Until next time, Sports Corner fans, peace.